but no matter what was going on in my life, uh, at least for those 3 hours when a Dodger game was on and I would listen to Vin Scully's voice, all was well. And he was able to take me away.
Fly ball onto the track, at the wall, it's gone! Home run!
Turns on a ball, deep right field, and gone!
What a game, what a moment. All right, I am pumped to welcome on the show now award-winning actor, a massive baseball fan, Bryan Cranston. Bryan, I want to start with, first and foremost, you're a fantastic actor. My dad and I watched every episode of Breaking Bad together, but I must say, I was in attendance for your worst ever performance, and that was the 2022 celebrity softball game at the All-Star game. What would you say happened there?
Okay, first of all, how dare you? How dare you say that was my worst performance? I caught a foul tip of Andre Beltre. I was sprinting away, and there were photographers and camera equipment. I had to dodge around, and I basket catch.
I do remember that.
It was beautiful.
The catch was beautiful. I thought the swing left a little to the imagination. Has the swing improved at all since then?
You know, my swing is like your love life. It's non-existent. Thank you for bringing that up. I did have rotator cuff surgery on my shoulder, and it never came back. I can't even play catch anymore.
Really?
Really can't. It's like I can't even make that move. It's really depressing. So it affects everything. My swing, I figure like left hand or the right hand. Yeah, it's like it's one of those things. You know, we were talking about it just a little while ago. It's like when you age and you get to a point, you go, I can't do this as well as I used to.
Yeah.
And psychologically and emotionally, you have to embrace that period.
Yeah.
And you go, I am no longer in my prime. I am on the slide. And I have to just acknowledge that. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, if you still live in the LA area, we'll go hit sometime, and that would be fun. But it seems like the shoulder doesn't allow that.
You know, I still work through it. It's like when I go to the gym, I just like I feel it crunches. I hear click, click, pop, pop. You know, it's like, oh God, it's and then my left shoulder started acting up. It's like I got arthritis now in both shoulders. Don't get old, Ben.
I'll try my best. Bryan, you're once again narrating the opening day campaign this year for Major League Baseball. How much fun do you have doing that? It looks awesome.
Well, as a baseball fan in general and Dodger fan specifically, I was able to shoot at Dodger Stadium one night a few weeks ago. I'm standing on the mound, no one in the stands. So that's pitch black, but all the lights are on me as I'm standing on the mound, Dodger Stadium. And I have an emotional experience to that. So the first time I went to Dodger Stadium was when their inaugural season of the stadium, 1962. I was 6 years old, and I remember it so well. And over the years, going often, every single year growing up and into my adulthood, and then bringing my child and exposing her to the wonders of baseball and Dodger Stadium. And it's been a love letter to me to be able to do MLB promos for it. And it's just fantastic. I'm such a big Dodger fan. I even named my dog Vin Scully.
That's awesome. So you grew up in LA listening to Dodgers, watching Dodgers baseball, and obviously named your dog Vin Scully, as you just said. What did Vin mean to you?
He meant everything to me. And I was able to meet him a few times, and I told him, I told him that, I had a very challenging childhood, not as bad as some, worse than others.
Mhm.
But no matter what was going on in my life, uh, at least for those 3 hours when a Dodger game was on and I would listen to Vin Scully's voice, all was well. And he was able to take me away, and I felt secure. I felt protected and safe. And that's just his voice. His voice was capable of transmitting that sensibility to people. And everyone in Los Angeles knows it, and a lot of people around the country know it from other things that he was broadcasting. And I think that's the same with whatever hometown you're in. When you listen to your hometown announcer, and it was just, there's something to it. You depend on them to connect you with what's happening in the field, but it's so much more than that. It's not just the numbers and here's the play and the player was out.
Yeah.
It's the behind the scenes, the what's happening, what's the feeling in the stadium, what's going on now. A player just had a child, for example, or something like that, and what are they going through? So it was life, and I was so proud to be able to give him Lifetime Achievement Award at the ESPYs one year, and he just meant everything to me.
Man, I totally agree that I think it's similar in other cities with their hometown guy on the radio call, but I struggle to believe that any have done it as well as Vin Scully was able to do it. I mean, he was, in my opinion, the best to ever do it. And he says a few words that'll be immortalized forever at the beginning of Dodgers games, which I think is really, really cool.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
There's an MLB Network documentary called Only in Hollywood that's really, really good. And it follows that 88 Dodger season where Kirk Gibson hits the walk-off homer in the World Series. Where were you when that walk-off home run happened?
Unfortunately, I was not at the game. I was upstate California. I guess I had to visit someone. It was like I don't know why, but we were at somewhere else, and I snuck out. There was a party going on, and I snuck out to watch the game. And to talk about a phoenix rising from the ashes, it was unbelievable. And to hear Vin Scully's call in a season that was so improbable, the impossible happened. And to watch that home run on a guy who could barely walk to get to home plate, and to just see that battle, and it was so stunning. I didn't even make a sound when he hit the home run. I was like, oh. It popped in my throat. Nothing was coming out. In fact, I think friends were thinking, what happened? My wife was going, what's wrong? What's wrong? I go, by the way, I was the narrator of that documentary, the 1988 Dodgers. And when I tell you, it's so well done, and it's not the narration part. I'm the writing of and the compilation, the way they directed that. It really is very emotional to watch it, and I was so proud to be a part of that.
It's really cool, and something, a story that I think you'd appreciate. I played in the Tigers organization for 5 years and got to be pretty close with Mr. Kaline, Al Kaline, and Kirk Gibson was always around as well. And I'll forever remember some days just, spring training starts so early. We're in the cage at 5:30, 6 o'clock some mornings, and I'm in there just swinging away. And Kirk Gibson comes up and sits on the bucket right in front of me and starts feeding me balls on the tee and just talking to me about hitting. And I soaked in that moment and was like, this is one of the coolest things that anybody could experience. Like how special is this, and how cool of him to be able to come in and talk hitting to me.
Well, baseball is more than just a game. It's a life experience. And those guys, Kaline and Gibson and everyone, your brother, everybody who is in the game, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
And so they're long retired, but they want to hang around. They want to see the next gen of players. And to have him sit on a bucket feeding tees.
Yeah.
Oh God. Were you able to focus on hitting that ball? Or
I feel like every time that's happened, I've had my pre-draft workout was at Comerica Park in Detroit, and I had gotten to meet Mr. Kaline a few times, and I felt like my BP for that workout was incredible. And I walk out of the cage, turn the corner, Mr. Kaline looks at me and goes, "You were a little nervous in there, huh?" And I'm like, yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you have to overcome. Every major league player has to get to that point too. It's not just your ability to play the game; it's your ability to focus on that. You know, I mean, there's a lot of hostile crowds out there, and sometimes they're even the home team. Like if you're playing in New York, it's like it could be brutal. Hey, by the way, Comerica, I've been to a game there. Great park.
Yeah.
Right downtown Detroit. Really beautiful park. Really happy to see that. The one I hate, and I'm going to trash it because I want them to fix this problem, is that stupid Tropicana park down in Tampa. It looks like a deflated circus tent. It's like what's happening? It's like a terrible place to play. And by the way, that team puts on a competitive team every single year. They deserve to have a better place to watch a game than that place. My God, come on.
I completely agree. It's also the one MLB stadium that I've actually played a game in that exhibition game right before the year. Played there, lost a ball in the roof because I couldn't see it. Luckily caught it, but I almost ran over Miguel Cabrera, and my career would have ended on the spot if I did that.
It's hitting Cabrera would be like hitting a hockey goalie. You know, you just don't you got to lay off. You know, don't hit that guy. You know?
Yes, my career would have been over. One, because it would have been like I ran into a brick wall, and two, I might have just hurt one of the greatest players of all time, and I would have been cut on the spot. Bryan, I gotta ask. I told you I was a massive fan of Breaking Bad, as my dad was as well. What kind of baseball fan do you think Walter White would be? Is he a guy that's just going to the park, enjoying a hot dog and a beer? Is he a diehard crazy fan? And who's his favorite team?
Okay, Walter White was a scientist. So you don't want to go to although I said you don't want to go to a game with Walter White because he would focus on the length of the blades of grass and the diameter of something and say, well, obviously he should hit it towards second base because that has a little more and so he would analyze everything. So he might be kind of a pain in the ass to watch a game with, although he could have been on the forefront of analytics and launch velocity and the trajectories of things and angles in which the outfielders should take. So I take it back. Maybe he would have been interesting to sit down, but he wouldn't know, if he wouldn't know a player from a ball boy. He has no clue. He has no team. He has nobody.
It might not matter in this day and age. He could be a big league hitting coach with the advanced analytics,
Yeah, and he knows nothing about it. He said, just do this, and you'll increase your odds. Yeah.
Bryan, last one for you. You're a massive Dodgers fan, as we've talked about, and they've quite possibly had the greatest offseason to ever exist in baseball, spending over $1 billion on Ohtani and Yamamoto. How excited are you for this year and really the future of Dodgers baseball?
Well, it's very exciting, of course, being a Dodger fan. But it's almost like we've become the Yankees of the West Coast. Every other team hates us now. Every fan hates us, and that's okay. Every time you think about this, and no matter what sport it is, when it comes time for the playoffs, it comes down to two things: what team can stay the hottest, and what team can stay the healthiest.
Yeah.
And that's really it. You could have a great team. We could, the Dodgers could win 115 games this year, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But all that doesn't really matter that much when you get down to October. And it's like you have a week off. And what we've experienced, you tail off and you sit back, and all of a sudden, this young, hot team, I'm talking about the Diamondbacks, they were a decent team. They weren't a great team. They were a decent team. And they got hot at the end. They stayed healthy. They got in. They took care of business. I'm not diminishing. They took care of business, and they got into the World Series. It's I don't know. It's something I think the MLB has to take a look at. Very, very long season, but it's all focused on October, right? I mean, even have the shows built for October, and it's like.
And baseball players are creatures of habit. Not a week off isn't necessarily a good thing. Come the most important game.
It's proven not to be.
Yeah. Bryan, this has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you so much for joining me. Big fan of you, and I'll catch you at a Dodgers game this year, hopefully.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, just wanted to thank Bryan Cranston for hopping on the show. I am genuinely one of the biggest Breaking Bad fans on the planet, and my dad and I really did watch it for so long together. So it was really cool to have him on and really just talk baseball. He is a massive baseball fan, massive Dodgers fan, as you all can tell, with a great Vin Scully impression, by the way. That was fun to hear. But yeah, just really cool to have him on. He is a part of the MLB opening day campaign again. He did it last year. He's doing it this year. Man is awesome, and it was really cool being able to have him on Flippin Bats. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I know I certainly did. That was really, really cool to have him on. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple or Spotify. You can also watch on Spotify or YouTube, and follow us on TikTok. We want 100,000 followers. We're getting close there. So check us out at Flippin Bats Pod on TikTok and help us get to 100,000. But that does it for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and thanks again to Walter White, Bryan Cranston, for joining Flippin Bats. Until next time, my friends, remember, find your bat and flip it.